Hi guys, it's Andy from Thermaltake UK. We're giving an overview for Thermaltake. This is the Chaser A31 Thunder Edition. Okay, so let's start by looking at the front of the box. We've got the Thermaltake branding right at the top here. A nice profiled image of the actual case itself, along with the Chaser A31 Thunder Edition Pursuit Without Fear. And as it mentions down here, we do have an internal USB 3.0. Now moving on to this side of the box, we have got some specifications for the actual case itself. Obviously it is a mid-tower case. Dimensions for this are 501mm in height, 212mm in width, and 495mm in depth. Just to cover the cooling on the actual case itself, we've got a 120mm fan pre-installed at the front, which is a turbo fan running at 1000 RPM and producing 16 dBA. There is room for another intake fan at the front as well. Moving on to the rear, we have a pre-installed blue LED fan, 120mm, and it's the same specification as the one at the front. Up at the top, we have room for 220mm fans or 140mm, and down at the bottom, we have room for a further 120mm fan. With regards to the bays, we have 3 optical bays, one of which you can then convert from a 5¼ inch bay if required, and also 6 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch bays as well. 7 expansion slots, and it will support micro ATX and ATX motherboards and a standard PSU. With regards to restrictions, the maximum CPU cooler height is 160mm. The graphics card length is 290mm with the hard drive rack installed, but you can remove that, which will then give you a fantastic 410mm for you to play with. Moving around to this side, we have exactly the same information as the other, obviously with the branding, etc. And this side we have a little bit more information, a bit more specification. We have got 2 top USB 3.0, 2 pre-installed fans, removable hard drive rack, etc. So let's get inside the box and have a look at the A31. Okay, so I've now removed the Chaser A31 from the actual packaging. As you'd expect, it's come within polystyrene towers, wrapped with a polythene bag, just to obviously keep it nice, safe and protected. The sample that we got has arrived in excellent condition. So, as you can see, we've got a very large side acrylic window on the actual case itself. Obviously you can remove that there, but we'll keep that on there for the time being, so that we don't scratch the actual side window. So it is punched out, as you can hopefully see on the camera. This will obviously enable you to fit that larger CPU cooler. So we're just going to move this around to the front and have a quick look. As you can see, there are a number of bays on here. It gives the impression that there is room for a ridiculous amount of optical bays on the actual case itself. And obviously the I/O port is very accessible up at the top. And we're just going to come around to this side. Obviously you've got the side there. Obviously it's again, it's punched out in order for cable management, to make it a little easier. And then coming on to the back, obviously it's all black on this here, vented PCI slots that we'll come on to, but that's generally the look of the actual case. So let's now remove the side panel and have a quick look inside the actual case itself. Okay, so one feature I do want to quickly cover are the actual thumb screws. As you're undoing them, they're actually designed, let me just undo it, to actually stay in place, which is a really good feature. It means that you're not going to end up losing your thumb screws. Okay, so one thing that I'm always sort of quite unsure about when coming on to cases that are coloured, be it blue, red, white, whatever that may be, is the actual coverage of the actual coating. Is it any good? Now looking at this side panel, it is really good. I mean, this is just one panel. There's a little bit up at the top here where it's not quite been actually sort of sprayed perfectly, but at the end of the day, that's on the inside of the case. But as for the exterior, the finish on this is absolutely fantastic. I'm very impressed with the actual coverage that they've used, and the way that they've done this. So it looks really good indeed. So let's carry on and look a bit further inside. Okay, so let's just remove the bag of accessories and user manual. We'll come on to that in a moment. As you can see, we have got 3 optical bays up at the top. We've got a nice blue colour scheme up here. They are toolless as well, so it means it's going to be very simple, very easy to install. We have 1, 2, 3 bays here for hard drives. This section is removable just by literally unscrewing these. Let me just get in and do that a moment. This one's a bit tougher. Come on. There we go. So by the looks of it, you just literally pull that down and pull it out. Which, there you go. Okay. Not quite sure the material, looks to be aluminium on steel. So that's one of the actual hard drive cages. And obviously with that removed, you're then actually able to install the longer graphics card. I think it's 490mm in there, so that's really good to see. So we're just going to slide this back in a moment. Okay, so looking at the actual hard drive cages themselves, they're made of plastic. Each one is identical. So you've actually got room on here for your SSD or your 2.5-inch drive, which is really good. Quite a deal, yeah, quite a lot of flexibility from the actual unit itself. You can see also we have got sort of rubber around the actual pins here as well, so it's going to aid with vibration on the larger 3.5-inch drives. I really like the look of these. Also, you've got Thermaltake branding up at the top, but they look extremely well built. They don't look flexible or like they're going to snap or break, and I prefer this definitely to the type of cases that come with the actual rails that go either side of the hard drives. Okay, so looking down at the bottom where the PSU is, we have got 4 raised sort of metal modules. There isn't any form of rubber on there, which is a little bit disappointing. Potentially you could get a bit of vibration coming from a high performance PSU. We do obviously have the ridge here though to keep it actually secure and in place, which is quite good. On the back we also have a removable fan filter, which we'll look at in a little bit more detail in a moment. Okay, so moving a little bit further up, we have the vented PCI slots. Always good to have vented PCI slots, really like the look of these. A couple of water cooling grommets as well. The blue LED fan, which by the looks of it features 4 blue LEDs, so that should give off quite a nice glow. The cable that comes from this is sleeved rather than sort of being braided. But you know, at the end of the day, they've obviously made the effort to cover up the yellow, red and black that you normally find, and it seems to have quite a good length on it as well, and it is a 3-pin cable. Okay, so moving over, we can see that we have already got some mounts already pre-installed for the actual motherboard on this particular case. Here we have the cables, which are all nice and black. Got a couple of flat cables there for the I/O ports, the internal 3.0 header, and the cable running from the front fan, which is obviously again a 3-pin connector. We've got 3 cable management openings. All 3 are rubber grommeted, not quite as wide as I have seen on cases of this size, but the fact that they are grommeted is also a really good plus point. Now looking up at the top, we have got room for 220mm fans. Obviously there are none installed, and there's also room for a 140mm fan as well. Not much room or support with regards to radiators up here. If you're looking at an all-in-one combined solution, that's possible, but anything more extravagant than that, you're not going to be able to fit that into this case, unfortunately. Okay, so onto the side of the actual case, we've got a very large cutout for the CPU cooler if you did require to change out without removing the motherboard. We've got a number of different tie-down options up at the top here, room for the power cable to run up through the top, and also we can see a little bit further, about the actual rubber grommets that are actually installed on the actual case. As you can see, it's already been sort of cable managed quite nicely, with only that one there not running from the actual top. Obviously that looks to be the fan cable. With regards to the room coming on this side for access to the hard drives, not a great deal of room. Obviously if you're going to fill this completely with hard drives, you may sort of struggle to get all the cabling in behind here. There's not sort of that much room at all, to be fair. You're probably looking around about 15mm with regards to the cable management, so the 24 pin might struggle to fit in behind here. However, obviously you've got the tie down options, so as long as you don't go too crazy with the amount of cables on here, you should get away with it, and it should be able to hide the cables quite nicely. Okay, so just to cover the bottom of the actual case, obviously as already mentioned, we have got this removable fan filter that goes right across the actual PSU, and the 120mm option as well, and you see screw holes for that here. The feet themselves are plastic, but we do have these soft rubber pads that have been pre-installed to the actual bottom to obviously help with vibration, to help it sort of scratching surfaces and moving around. Okay, so moving on to the top of the Chaser A31, we do have obviously the mounts for the fans here, as you can see. It does actually appear that you can install 240mm fans up at the top. Obviously it did stipulate that they would only install one, but the mounts do appear to be suitable for two. Moving a little bit further to the front, the cable management on this looks really good. From the front I/O port, which is nice to see. Just to show you the actual top panel as well, we do actually have a sort of tray up at the top here, which is ideal for putting things like SD cards, USB sticks, mobile phones, etc. when charging. And moving along, we do have this sort of mesh grill up at the top, and behind here we do actually have also some foam to obviously help with dust, etc. So that looks really good. Okay, so I've now removed the front panel from the Chaser A31. We have the pre-installed 120mm fan at the front here, and room for an additional fan as well at 120mm. As you can see, the cable runs straight through this hole here, which is a really nice feature. The cables aren't sort of struggling to fit in through any particular gap. And moving a bit further up, obviously we have three 5¼ inch bays, obviously as you can see here. Now the other thing that I want to show you, obviously looking at the front panel, as you can see there, we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different 5¼ inch bays, and that's the impression that the case gives. However, as we can see, we've only got room for 3. But turning this over, we have got obviously this foam again on the inside with dust to obviously help the dust getting into the system to prevent that. And obviously, particularly down here, we have 3 bays that cover each of the 120mm fan intakes. So the fact that these are removable, you are able to clean these as well, is quite a nice feature, and in my opinion it looks really quite good. Now as I put the front panel back on, it's a little bit tricky to actually get this on and sit it correctly. Let me just see if I can do that. There we go. So we have got a power button at the top here. A hard drive LED indication. There appears to be some form of LED behind the actual power. Reset button, your microphone and headset, and 2 USB 3.0, which as we've already seen goes into a header for the actual motherboard, and the Thermaltake branding up at the top here. Okay, so looking at the various other bits and pieces that come with the case, we do have a policy guide here for you to look at, as well as an instruction manual or user guide, which will give you various other bits of specification that we've already covered, guide into installing the VGA card, the toolless installation up at the top, etc. The other thing that we have is this here, which is obviously a spare bay cover. Would have been nice for this to be actually complete rather than just a framework. Also included is this little plastic device here, which is a 3.5 inch adapter for a 5¼ inch bay, which is quite nice, very strong, very rigid indeed. Installation straight through there for the various different holes, etc. So quite nice to see that. The other thing that we have here is a bag of the screws, etc. Also you've got the rubber mounts, spare rubber mounts for the hard drive caddies, various different screws, cable ties which are all black, which is really nice to see. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is just connect this up to a power supply so we can have a look at the rear blue LED fan. Okay, so the power supply is now connected up, so let's just give this a quick fire up. By the looks of it, there's actually only 2 LEDs on the actual fan, and that's what we look like in a little bit more darkness. On to my overall thoughts for the Thermaltake Chaser A31 Thunder Edition. The build quality of the case is extremely good indeed. It's very rigid in its construction and the design has been very well thought through. I like the design of the front panel, which gives the impression of multiple drive bays and gives it a look as if to suggest there is a monster build inside. The side window is of a really good size and the punch panels finish off the overall look. The colour of the case is a very nice rich blue, and for nearly all of the case the blue paint has been applied perfectly. I just need to mention as well that the case is also available in white and black. So on to the plus points. The addition of the rubber grommets, although not as wide as I would like to have seen, is really good. The hard drive caddies are very well built and look really good as well. I really like the fact that each caddy can take both 3.5 inch and 2.5 inch hard drives. The case also supports a lot of hard drives, which is always a good thing as well. It's also nice to see that you can remove the top hard drive caddy to install longer graphics cards easily. There is good air cooling options with support for a total of 6 fans, and it's always nice to see the fan filters on the bottom of the case and foam around the other intake points as well to help prevent dust from getting into your system. Personally, I like the fact that they haven't included a fan controller, as I personally like to use my own, but for some of you this might be a negative point. On to the not so good points. The lack of rubber supports around the PSU modules is a slight disappointment, as this is a must in all cases to help with vibration and also to prevent scratches to your PSU upon installation. I would have also liked to see a little bit more room for cable management on the back of the case, especially around the hard drive bays, as I feel if you install quite a number of hard drives you are going to struggle to accommodate the actual cables that come with these. It would have been nice to see a couple of additional fans being installed as standard from the outset, and maybe a couple of these could have been blue LEDs at the front intake. But overall the build quality is very good, the design and overall look is very eye-catching and definitely would make for an extremely good gaming case. I did find this for around about £70 to £80, so for that amount of money I personally think it's extremely good value. So we hope you liked the overview for the Thermaltake Chaser A31 Thunder Edition, and we'll see you in our next video. We hope you liked our video review. If you did, then please leave a like as well as any comments or questions you may have down below. Full details and specifications on this item can be found at our website nismotech.com, along with all the links for purchasing if you wish. Also on our site you'll find our latest reviews and current giveaways, plus a lot more. We look forward to seeing you in our next review.